2 seconds.
All right, great. All right. Well, everyone that's waiting, we're just still waiting for some more folks to join here. We're a little early, so we have some time. And Perry, I think we were going to wait a few minutes to get started, right?
Yeah, it looks like we've got a good group of people here.
Okay.
But I think we could probably still wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody
Okay.
else joins. Do
Great.
you have the chat function open on your end?
I do. I'm able to see it.
Just wondering how everybody's doing and if they can see us and hear us okay from the folks that are here already.
Looks like we're getting some answers. There we go. Thank you, Dan.
All right, well, I think we should get going.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, I think we got a good group of people here today. And if anybody joins late, this is being recorded, and so we can get you a copy of it later in case you miss anything. Or if you just want a refresh on the information that we go through. But good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Perry Chafee, and I'm with WWPass, and we're here today with our good partner from the authentication industry, Auth0, and Andre Escobar is there representing them today. Today, we're going to discuss some alternative and more secure ways of authentication and how a new approach to logins can protect users from phishing and credential theft attacks. And before we start, I just want to stress that phishing and credential theft attacks are one of the biggest and most important and pressing issues going on in cybersecurity right now. Just between 2020 and 2021, there's been a tenfold increase in phishing attacks. And all of those attacks are targeting user credentials. And the technology that we're going to discuss today is designed to be able to prevent those attacks simply by design. So for our agenda today, first we're going to start with a quick overview of the Auth0 marketplace, and then we'll move on to talk about some of the challenges with traditional logins. Then we're going to get into like how to choose the right protection for your enterprise. And after that, we will start talking about the WWPass solution and do a brief technology overview, explain the benefits to you of using this technology in your enterprise from a security, convenience, and cost perspective. And then it's always great to have some visuals. So we're going to show you a quick demo of an end user login experience, as well as showing you how easy it is to integrate WWPass into your Auth0 CIAM. So over to you, Andre.
Great. I guess we'll go for the next slide here. As most of you know, Auth0 is now a part of Okta, but we're going to be focusing on the Auth0 Identity Access Management Platform, which will be what I'll cover in this next slide here. Great. The Auth0 IAM platform is an identity platform for developers that makes it easy to connect any application to the authenticators and integrators you need. We accomplish this by providing an identity operating system that exposes appropriate building blocks targeted to different operators in the ecosystem. Users really want security and flexibility. Auth0 security and extensibility enables you to provide your users with all the newest sign-in options as soon as they are available, including those from partners in the marketplace like WWPass. In this webinar, we will show you how you can create a custom two-factor authenticator for added security and easily enable the multi-factor authenticators you may require. And next slide here. Great. I just want to go over really on a high level and show the Auth0 authentication and authorization flow here. This diagram is able to demonstrate the multiple extensions we allow. We call these extensible triggers, labeled here in purple. As you can see, these are in every different part of the authentication flow. These make it possible for clients and marketplace technology partners to hook into the authentication pipeline as necessary. WWPass takes advantage of this extensibility to make their product easily available for our Auth0 clients, which is great. I'll go on to the next one here. Great. But getting back to our main topic here, which is authentication security, how to effectively combat phishing and other credential attacks. I would really like to start by talking about the main pitfalls of traditional logins. Because security always really starts at your login screen. When a username and password are the front line of your security, I would definitely advise that you reconsider your authentication and strengthen it with, or at least really strengthen it with a second factor at the very least. The main concern about traditional login experience is that it's based completely on the something you know factor. The username in this scenario, really in most, is most likely your email address. And how many email addresses do we really have? You probably have a work one, a personal one, but it's really only two or so. There are only a few of these, so you're most likely now to be compromised with the hundreds of data breaches that happen yearly. And you could say the same thing about passwords here. Statistics show that a majority of people use about 3 to 5 different passwords at best to protect their accounts, which, given that these data breaches often include passwords, it's safe to say that the username and password approach really only is not really sufficient to secure users' accounts here. And now let's just go on to the next slide. Since username and password really is no longer enough to maintain a good security level, we highly recommend that you add a second factor or use multi-factor authentication. And I really want to go over what these different factors are that are available here. As we discussed, previously, the something you know factor includes passwords, security questions, challenges, and then there's something you have, which has become very popular really with the availability of smartphones, since one doesn't have to have a separate device to authenticate. And this is really something like authenticators. Some of us use SMS-based and biometrics, right? That connects. But this also is that parlay into what the something you are. That being all said before, the SMS-based authenticator is probably one of the secure options as it has its own vulnerabilities, such as like SIM swapping, and really your phone could be taken as an example, or another device that is connected to your SMS. Now, something you are is mostly biometrics, such as a facial scan or fingerprint. And this is something that we have allow integrations into. There are also other factors developed by different vendors, like contextual and behavioral analytics. This includes understanding user behavior to know what device the user would normally be coming in from, or really what browser they might normally use, and understand that information using really data and analytics. Geographical behavior such as IP and location can also be used for this other factor of really contextual. And so as you can see, there are a great number of MFAs, and it's important to be mindful when picking the right one, because obviously not all MFAs are really created equal, or really for your use case here. Next slide. Now, how to pick the right MFA. I say the first and most important thing is to determine what needs to be protected by your MFA. Some applications might not even work with some types of MFAs without considerable work, including legacy applications. Single sign-on only works with some vendors, but not others. And this is also in relation to your IAM platform that you currently have, whether it's homegrown or you're using another vendor that doesn't support it. So what you really need to do is determine what critical applications you must protect, and then it also lead you to the MFA solution you can actually protect them with. It is also important to consider your operating system environment, since it may also shorten the list of possible MFA solutions. So very different from web solutions to native application solutions here. Once you've narrowed down your list, you can always go for the option that enables the most security. And we also tend to talk about this in a contextual MFA aspect, where you only really safeguard privileged actions as well. Auth0 has a marketplace where you can actually find many secure authentication solutions, including WWPass for this, and we invite you to take a look at all the options there. Next slide. And that being said, going back to our ecosystem and as to where we are able to connect WWPass here, our ecosystem's mission is to meet the specific needs of customers by connecting them to partner solutions in the marketplace. Partners are able to leverage the extensibility provided by the Actions platform, which I showed before, and make it really accessible for customers using the marketplace. This really encourages a cycle of innovation between Auth0 clients and partners here. Partners are able to provide customer solutions to their unique identity needs outside of the core Auth0 product. This includes consent management, ID proofing, MFA providers, and really many more. It really depends on the product that would like to integrate. WWPass has taken advantage of these actions to enable clients to easily implement the WWPass MFA solution. So this is why we're here, to see how they were able to help solve some problems here in complex identity solutions. Now Perry will cover how their implementation works. So over to you, Perry.
Thanks, Andre. I fully agree with you that traditional username and password pairs totally have to be protected by additional authentication layers. However, I strongly recommend just getting rid of them completely. And the best way to prevent stolen credentials is just to avoid having credentials that are available to be stolen. So before we move to the next slide, here's a visual example of a traditional login where, once again, the second factor is added as an extra verification and protection layer before authorization. And despite being the most common scenario, it's highly susceptible to all types of phishing and credential theft attacks. So for those who are still struggling with memorizing countless passwords and using the same email address again and again and again, there's good news. Now you can log into all of those resources without using usernames and access and passwords. And it is not sacrificing, but it is actually increasing both security and convenience. Here you can see how WWPass authentication changes the process completely. And this is a completely different approach. We don't try to add authentication factors on top of the existing username and password-based logins. What we've developed is completely independent and self-sufficient. And the essential thing about it is that it doesn't rely on human readable credentials like usernames, email addresses, or passwords. And instead, we start the authentication with something you have, which is that possession factor we talked about. It could be your smartphone or a token. We've covered both of those. We've introduced a concept called protected user identifiers, or PUIDs. And what is a PUID? Well, it's a unique, random, and long number that is a result of multiple mutual authentications between your WWPass key, WWPass itself, and the specific application that you're logging into. So your PUID is always different for every application that you're using. So if you're logging into 20 different applications, you're going to have 20 different PUIDs. And the beauty of the system is that even though you have 20 different PUIDs, you don't have to know, remember, organize, or store any of them anywhere. The technology does this for you completely seamlessly. So starting authentication with the right factor immediately makes the whole process way more secure and more convenient. First of all, there are no human readable credentials like usernames that can be leaked or stolen. And then secondly, it actually ends up requiring fewer steps from the end users. So in this slide, we've got a comparison of how those steps look. The average user has more than 100 logins to remember. I know I do, and I know that a lot of the passwords for the systems that I have to access require regular updates, and a lot of the standards for what you need to include in a password is different from application to application. And all of that makes it really difficult keeping track of which passwords are still good, which ones are expired, and trying to remember them all. If you're really security conscious, you don't want to use the same password for everything, and you probably also don't want to store all of them in a password manager. But there are websites or apps that you don't use often enough, and it means that probably by the next time you go back to that website or service, when you try to log in, you're not going to remember what your credentials are. You're going to have to go through a password reset process. It's this big whole annoying thing. It's really frustrating. We've all experienced it. And that's why not only is this slide about security, it's also about convenience. And on that note, product managers and marketers are obsessed with this because analysis predictably shows that the more friction your user experience has, the higher your bounce rate will be. And that's going to hurt both your conversion and retention rates. And asking prospective customers to create yet another username or password or to reset one that they've forgotten means lost business. Another concern is that password reset process itself, in an attempt to reduce friction, many well-intentioned product managers and marketers try to make the reset process as fast and simple as possible. But the problem is that they're actually also doing this for hackers who can use that password reset process as a way to do account takeovers. So to reduce friction and increase security, WWPass authentication allows you to eliminate passwords completely and the need to reset them. And personally, I'm so happy that I have just one key to many digital doors, and I don't have to remember all kinds of different usernames and passwords. It's just one PIN, and that's it. And it literally just takes a couple of seconds to log in, and the whole solution is so much more secure than traditional authentication. A quick point about QR codes, because we use them in our process. The QR code is just a transport tool, but it's how you use that tool that's the most important. Not all QR codes are created or implemented equally. And when used for authentication, the only thing that the QR should ever contain is a random authentication session identifier, which must not disclose any information at all to attackers. It's best when the code has a limited lifespan, meaning that it only lasts for a few seconds or minutes before it expires and you need a new one. It needs to be resistant to shoulder surfing attacks, and it needs to be up to date according to industry standards. My advice is that if you're using QR codes as a part of any of your processes, that you just make sure that that technology is implemented in the correct way in order to actually protect your security. So how does WWPass work? From the end user standpoint, the authentication always looks the same. On a desktop, you can scan the WWPass QR code with your WWPass key app using your phone. But if you're logging on with your phone itself, then you just tap the login with WWPass button on your browser or in the app. And once you do that, the WWPass key app asks you to approve the authentication. And it shows you the name of the application that you're trying to log into. This is to guard against spoofing attacks. And after that, WWPass authenticates your smartphone. Remember that possession factor again. And it either asks you to enter your PIN number or your biometrics. And for non-security critical apps, you could even remove that last step, which makes the authentication even faster. And once everything is completed, the website or application automatically logs you in. A quick note on our data storage. This is really important. We encrypt all information and we split it into a number of chunks, and we store all of the chunks in different data centers. And we do this so that no individual data center contains enough information to reconstruct and decrypt the original user data. And moreover, the encryption keys themselves are stored on the end user devices, so they're totally decentralized. And this means that WWPass staff cannot access the user information and therefore cannot impersonate users. And most importantly, that no one else can do that either. The best analogy to this is a safe deposit box at a bank. Each application, website, or service can only access its own piece of information that's stored in WWPass. That means that this requires a dedicated data container specific for a particular combination of a user and the application. And with this approach, a single WWPass key can be used for an unlimited number of applications without any privacy concerns. This is a form of zero trust architecture where it is literally impossible for any spillover between the account providers. Our technology is patent protected in the US, Europe, and Japan. And before we move on to the demo and the questions, I just wanted to quickly summarize the value that you can get from adding WWPass to your Auth0 capability. The technology behind WWPass and authentication itself protects your accounts from phishing and credential theft simply by design. You don't need to do lots of extra training and try to get all of your end users to change their behavior. It's simply by design. You implement it and it stops these attacks. It also prevents unauthorized access in case you're concerned about account sharing, because each user gets their own unique ID key. Plus, and I can't stress this enough, it's really important to all of the non-technical, non-IT facing departments like accounting or legal or marketing, how convenient this login experience is. And the login itself is very easy to integrate into your cloud application or website through well-known authentication protocols like SAML, Auth0, OpenID Connect, and so on. And for these kinds of apps, we provide an IAM solution, which is based on open source software and has WWPass authentication built right into it. So now to the fun part for the demo. First, we're going to show you the actual login experience from an end user perspective. And then we're going to quickly show you how easy it is to add the WWPass login to an existing Auth0 application. So I'm going to quickly switch from this presentation. All right. So what we're looking at now is a live browser. This is a demo account that's provided by one of our customers named Hamlog. They've been using Zoho for accounting. And whether you're logging in on a desktop or a mobile browser, you're going to see our branded login with WWPass button. And when you click that button, it's going to automatically redirect you to the WWPass OpenID Connect service. And that is a branded WWPass QR code And in a second, I'm going to use the app in my phone in order to scan that. If you were logging in on your phone itself, then you would just tap that QR code right in your browser, and it would open the app and authenticate for you right within the device itself. So when I open up the WWPass Key app, you should be able to see that. And note that I'm sitting probably 8 feet away from the screen. I'm not touching my keyboard at all. And the next step is it's asking me to approve this login to this service. And after that, it will ask me to provide my biometric. Whoops, our QR code timed out. See, it's a dynamic QR code. This is a great safety feature. If I don't scan it quick enough, then I need to reload it. All right. All right, and now it's telling me that I have logged in successfully. So note that I didn't touch my keyboard. I didn't type in anything on the computer system that I'm logging into. If a keylogger had been installed on this system by a hacker, they wouldn't be able to get a username and password with that. And the QR code itself, you saw how it timed out. It times out every couple minutes, and that means that every single session is going to have a different QR code. So even if they took a screenshot of that QR code, it's not going to do them any good. Again, the best way that you can prevent against credential theft is not to have any credentials available for anybody to steal. So that's it. It's that simple to log in from an end user perspective. So looking at what you would need to do in order to add WWPass authentication to your application is first to check out www.pass.com and go to this login option in the upper right corner. And then when you go to log in here, it's going to automatically create an account for you. All you have to do is once again, scan the QR code, approve that you're going to the correct website, and it logs you right in, and that's it. You're done. And then on the actual developer's dashboard, in order to add an Auth0 application, you're just going to select this option over on the left, click on that, click to add new Auth0 web app, and basically just follow the steps. Go back to the presentation real quick. All right. And when you go to add this, there are basically 3 different steps. The first one is just to register the WWPass application using our developers portal wizard. That's done on www.pass.com. The next step you need to do on the Auth0 side, and that would be to create the enterprise connection, and you have to do it there because you've got to edit the Auth0 OIDC settings and follow those steps. And a note on that, the WWPass Auth0 wizard will help you to obtain all of the required parameters that you need to be able to enter here. And also, this is a spot where you can customize your login screen appearance. The third step and the final step is just integrating your app with Auth0. And that's done both on the Auth0 side and with your app. And that step depends on the particular app that you use. You may always refer to the Auth0 documentation for more details. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, the whole integration shouldn't take long. And if you've got any questions or there's anything that we could do to help, we are happy to do so. We've still got a couple minutes for the Q&A. And if you have any questions now, then please ask away, and we'll be happy to answer them in the chat.
Yeah, and I just wanted to also add that no, thank you, Perry, for showing us this demo. It was great. With the marketplace, you're able to actually go to the Auth0 marketplace and look for Worldwide Pass, and there's a whole guide there with all the documentation as to what you need, as well as links to Worldwide Pass and how to sign up there. But yeah, I guess we can go on and go for some questions. Perry, I see that somebody had asked here, what should a user do if his or her phone is lost or stolen, or they have a new phone?
That's a great question. So, in both instances, it is a really simple process. If you get a new phone, you just need to go to the App Store and download the WWPass key app. And then when you log into it, it will help you to recover your WWPass key, which was on your previous device. And when you do that, it deactivates the app that was used on the last device. So if your phone was lost or stolen, if you get a new phone immediately, you can set up the new app on the new phone. It deactivates the old one immediately. If you don't have a new phone right away, you could find a friend or a family member that you really trust, and you could download the app onto that phone and set up the app there, and then it would deactivate the WWPass key that's on the missing phone. And then if you find the missing phone, it's real simple to go back into it and then reactivate the WWPass key that is on that phone. So I also saw that there's a question about if we don't use usernames, then what do you use as a user ID? That is the personal unique identifier, the PUID. And that is a random number that is created when there are multiple mutual authentications between your WWPass key app, the WWPass core system, and the specific application that you're logging into. So for every single application, you're going to have a different PUID. It's a wonderful system. And the best part is that it works seamlessly in the background, and you don't ever have to know or keep track of any of that info.
That's great. Thank you, Perry. I think we have more question here. I guess Derek is asking, how does the whole system identify the end user? How can IT know who is who for audit? Well, I guess I could speak to the Auth0, and whenever somebody is connected to the Worldwide Pass system, we actually do create an Auth0 user on our end. So they're able to tell who had signed in with that. And the great thing with also with Worldwide Pass is they're able to do it on their end, and Perry can talk about how, what actions are available to be, I guess, logged on your end there.
Yeah, the important concept to understand is just that you shouldn't need to use personal identifying information like your name, your username, your address, your phone number, anything like that, your social security number when you're logging into something. And the PUID allows you to get around that need to do that. But then once you're logged in, whatever system it is, it can still link that PUID to whatever personal identifying information it needs to have. So probably it needs to know your name and maybe your phone number, how to reach you, and whatever else that specific application requires. But you shouldn't have to provide that in order to log in, because a lot of those things, your name and your address and your phone number, people can find in a couple minutes on Google. So it's not very safe. Are there any other questions that we're seeing?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to pop into the Q&A box as well and type them in if you do. I am also, while people are thinking something, if you have a question about how you can add a product to the marketplace, just feel free to actually go to auth0.com/partners, and you're able to actually put out an application to see if you have a product that you might be interested in showcasing there as well. We make that available. So I guess just I guess 1 more minute here on any questions or comments, and we'd love to have them. Oh, I see in the chat it says, "What if you don't oh, sorry. What if you don't remember your worldwide pass pin code?" That is a question here in the chat.
That's a question that I would prefer our development team answer. And the answer is a little bit technical, which is why I'd rather not try to explain it here in the last minute. But we would be happy to get you that information.
Okay, I guess make sure to get that to Maria here. Okay, is there a YouTube video that can explain this for non-IT people? I believe we're going to make this available, the recording, I guess, on WWPass's site as well as Auth0's. I guess that's what we have. I don't know, Perry, do you have anything more explaining about how WWPass works on your end?
We have additional materials that we could provide. I guess the question was specifically non-technical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we have your contact information through this webinar, and we can reach out and provide that to you.
All right. I guess that is all for questions here. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're very glad to have had your time for a couple of minutes here.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Have a great afternoon.